From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. So on Friday, we reposted the episode we did about Mike Rowe. And I kind of ragged on Mike Rowe a little bit. You know, the Dirty Jobs guy. And then over the weekend, I saw he was getting a lot more airtime again. They did a whole big segment on him on the NewsHour, PBS. I saw him, he was guesting on some other show. So I don't know what's going on. He's plugging something. He has this big scholarship he's set up. So I was kind of harsh with Mike Rowe and his whole philosophy. But he seems to be universally beloved. So what do I know, I guess. But I will just, not to get back into the whole thing, but I will say, you know, it's all well and good. He's big on the trades. He wants to eliminate the stigma. He wants to destigmatize the trades. And, you know, I'm fine with that. For people to be carpenters or electricians or, you know, do the physical work, the important work that needs to be done. Plumbers and electricians and people up on the power lines. Yeah, that's really important work. So I've got nothing against that at all. I applaud that. I think that's fine. My only problem is this conversation seems to create an either-or proposition. Either you're going to make a lot of money going into the trades, and that's the big selling point. Oh, you can make six figures. You can you can start out at 60,000 and then work your way up. And it's all about making a good living, which, again, okay, fine. But the or part of that equation, so either you're going to make a lot of money in the trades, or you're going to waste your time learning a lot of fiddle-faddle in college. Now, whether or not he means that, in fact, at one point he says he doesn't. He tries to make the point, but he doesn't elaborate. At least the person doing the editing didn't let him elaborate. Just a really quick mention. No, I got nothing against the humanities. And that was it. That was the 1 second little disclaimer. But I just really want to give that more attention than it's getting. Because you can go right from high school into a trade school and make a whole buttload of money. Which, by the way, I read the other day is an actual measurement. Buttload. I don't have the source right in front of me. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, a buttload is not just a funny little term. It's an actual measurement. I don't know what a butt is exactly in those terms. Anyway, you can make a whole buttload of money in the trades, but the problem is you can still be a really horrible person and not have any understanding of how the world works, about history, about philosophy, about other people. And so you can be a six-figure earner in some sort of skilled trade, but still be prey to conspiracy theories. Like, say, for instance, the Orange Menace won the election and it was stolen from him. And as a result, let's go to Washington and attack the Capitol and kill Nancy Pelosi. Because, indeed, many of those folks who did that, these nice little group of domestic terrorists, I'm guessing not a lot of humanities degrees. That's just my guess. And we know now, after the fact, a few weeks, there were a lot of high earners. No doubt plumbers and electricians, a lot of business owners, but I'm guessing not a whole lot of philosophy majors, not a whole lot of history majors, or political science majors. So yeah, I got nothing against trade school, but please don't create the implication that a 4-year degree or humanities education is not important. It's absolutely vitally important, I believe. I think we're doomed unless everybody gets their damn kid into college. We somewhere along the way, we've been brainwashed into the idea that college is someplace you go to get a job. You learn the skills for a job. No. It's where you learn about the damn world. You learn about the people you're sharing the damn world with. We got way too many dumbass people here. Now, I'll stop here because I've talked about this before. I don't want to go down this road again. We've spent plenty of time talking about it. Let me say one more thing. Just to repeat and be very clear, I'm not saying you have to go to college to be a good person, to be a moral person, to care about other people. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying, if you get into adulthood, into your 20s and 30s and 40s, and you really do have prejudice, and you don't understand how the world works, and you don't understand government, and you don't have a sensitivity to the arts and humanities, you don't have any skills for critical thinking, well, much or all of that could have been alleviated by going to college and studying the humanities. And we'd have fewer gullible dopes who become Republicans. That's all I'm saying. So, enough about that. I just happened to see Mike Rowe getting a lot more airtime, and it kind of ticked me off again. I saw a nice headline, caught my eye. Something called theappeal.org, not familiar with it. Headline, Stop Using Police for Traffic Stops. So says Anna Curian, the opinion writer here. The goal of traffic enforcement is safety. To keep residents safe, cities should shift enforcement to a civilian agency and increase automated enforcement. There are better ways to promote road safety. Cities should transfer traffic enforcement to non-police. Those responsible for making sure traffic rules are followed should be unarmed and separate from criminal law enforcement and investigations. I've been saying this for years. Last year, Berkeley, California passed a proposal to remove traffic enforcement from police duties. Los Angeles, Philadelphia, New York, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Montgomery County, Maryland have also considered transferring traffic enforcement away from police. Okay, well, it's happening some places. Good. I never understood how this was even the same job. Enforcing traffic laws and then chasing down criminals with a gun and mace. How is one person responsible for both of these things? They require a whole different set of skills and temperament. It's always seemed nuts to me, just crazy to me. Reading again. Cities should also increase their use of automated enforcement. Yes, like speed detectors and traffic cameras. Not only do these tools reduce contact between drivers and enforcers, they also reduce racial disparities in enforcement. And I will add to that, they also reduce a buttload of cost, just at the fraction the cost of paid personnel and the big old car and all the equipment that goes with it. Absolutely. Polling shows that this approach to traffic enforcement is popular with the majority of likely voters. But cities should still be ready for pushback. They can respond with public education campaigns and specialized training for those tasked with traffic enforcement. Public education can also help counter the false narrative that traffic enforcement is dangerous and high risk. Yeah. Police enforcement of traffic rules does more harm than good. Policing turns routine traffic stops into deadly encounters. An NPR investigation into deaths of 135 unarmed black people shot by police since 2015 found that more than a quarter of the killings occurred during traffic stops. New York Attorney General Letitia James recommended removing the New York Police Department from everyday traffic enforcement, pointing out that the vast majority of traffic stops do not involve criminal conduct, yet often end in violence. Racial disparities abound in traffic stops. Data consistently shows black drivers are stopped and searched more often than white drivers, despite searches of white drivers more often turning up evidence of crimes. Police spend a lot of time enforcing traffic rules. Non-police traffic enforcement would free up police resources, giving departments more officers and time to focus on solving homicides and other violent crimes. This, it just gets so damn frustrating. When something makes perfect sense, it's perfectly reasonable, the data bears it out, it's just almost impossible to argue, it's popular with the public, and yet it's such an uphill fight to get legislation like this passed. So I'm happy to see that some cities are on it. So this is part of, it's part of the whole defund the police thing, and that became a partisan fight as soon as it was brought up, and especially because it was brought up in the light of the Black Lives Matter protests, and it was just poisoned immediately. Terminology was parsed and used as weapons, willful ignorance, the things that conservatives, right-wingers, Republicans do all the time. They misrepresent the argument from the left. This is their specialty. They accuse the left of all sorts of nefarious motivations. It's the whole boogeyman thing. It's the whole straw man thing. You create something really that doesn't exist. Joe Biden's going to turn America into Venezuela. I mean, you just create this ridiculous picture that couldn't be further from reality. And their base buys it. Once again, a little bit of critical thinking, a little bit of post-high school education, a little bit of exposure to diversity and to exposure to advanced ideas. God, these people are dumb. Well, what else? What else? I've been thinking a lot lately about what's next. What's next? Because there's always something, right? You know, we're going to have a mass shooting. We're going to have another pandemic before this one's even solved. Maybe another one will crop up. Who's to say? Some sort of war somewhere, some sort of domestic attack, a foreign terror attack, a flood, earthquake, fire, hurricane, another ice storm, a cyber attack. I mean, there's going to be something. There's always something. And when that something happens, everybody points at each other. Why didn't you know this was going to happen? Why weren't you prepared for this? Well, that's my question today. What's next and who's preparing for it? Wouldn't you think that that'd be somebody's full-time job? Get up every day. It's their full-time job to prepare for the worst. Every agency in government should have a big old department with an undersecretary and a couple hundred people on staff to get up every damn day and worry about what's next and prepare for it. The fact that we can't see 2 feet in front of our noses is starting to drive me mad. I saw a post the other day about getting money out of politics, how it poisons everything. And I got to thinking, you know, almost everybody agrees on this. It's sort of universally agreed upon that money poisons politics. It's a very bad influence. And as much as we seem to universally agree on this, get money out of politics, why aren't we in universal agreement about getting money out of healthcare, for example? Well, on second thought, we are close to universal agreement. The favorability for universal healthcare, for Medicare for all, is very high. I haven't seen the polls lately, but it's up in the 70, 80%. It's one of those things that the public wants, but the CEOs and the politicians don't want. Old story. But yeah, money out of politics, money out of healthcare. How about get money out of education? Well, you might say, well, public schools. Yeah, but still money is at the heart of all of it. The great bulk of funding coming from property taxes. It's all about what we can afford and what we can't afford. Teachers' unions fighting for their membership, as is their right. That's the way it goes. That's what unions are for. But again, a lot of it about money, contracts, the cost of maintenance, the cost of extracurriculars, always with the budget tightening and budget cutting, and what's the first thing to go? Oh, of course, well, the arts, humanities have to go. So it's not just strictly whether something is private or public. Money still is at the heart of every decision. Money poisons everything. It poisons government. Yes, we all tend to agree. Poisons healthcare. Many of us agree. I'm here to say it poisons education. It certainly poisons the media. I've gone on and on, I won't go back into that argument, about how corporate for-profit news media is absolutely poisoned. So get money out of politics, get money out of healthcare, get money out of education, get money out of the media, get it out of housing. Housing is so unfair in this country. People need food and nutrition. Well, what keeps them from getting food? They can't find it? In some cases, yeah, food deserts. How about they can't afford it? And why are there food deserts in the first place? Because it's not profitable to get the food into certain neighborhoods. Just can't be worked out profit-wise. It's all about money. Everything's about money. Our very safety. Why is this person hitting me over the head and stealing my wallet? Because it's fun? Is he doing it on a bet? Is it some sort of game, some sort of hobby? Yeah, maybe the guy needs money. Let's go a little bit outside the box here. How about art? Art is a good thing. Everyone should be able to enjoy it, participate in it. If you're in a certain income class, you ain't going to buy a painting from an artist. You're not going to go to the symphony. The best you can do is go to some summer beer festival, hear a couple of bar bands. Your access to art, your ability to create art, you don't think money has just a little bit to do with that? The lack of money? Yeah, so when I saw this post, get money out of politics, yeah, sure, but why stop there? Get money out of everything. Get money out of work. Here again, you and I have spoken about this many times. The very idea of wages is completely immoral. Because if you got up every day and worked at a job because you enjoyed the job, because you wanted to serve others, because it was something important, you felt like you were contributing to the world, well, you wouldn't need to be paid for that. You just do it. And if you are getting up every day and going to your job just because you need the money, well, then what is that except wage slavery? Please explain this to me, how you're not just a wage slave. I have to work. I hate this particular job. I can't seem to find another one. I can't afford to get the skills. I can't go back to school. I'm kind of trapped. How many people feel like that? How many millions of people feel like that? And then because we live under capitalism, a good portion of your wage, about half of it, is stripped from you before it ever hits your wallet. So I'm just saying, without getting into each one of these topics, which I could, without getting into each one of them in detail, this just crossed my mind when I saw yet another post, get money out of politics, it poisons it. Yeah, get money out of everything. It poisons everything. Money poisons everything it touches. Why would you think it poisons politics and it doesn't occur to you that, oh yeah, it's just poison generally? I mean, imagine just for a minute, imagine a world where some big emergency came up, and because you weren't chained to a job as a wage slave, you had the freedom, you had the liberty. You guys who always keep talking about liberty, that's your favorite word in the world. Imagine if you had the liberty to just get up and do whatever you wanted, and you saw there was a need, and you'd go help. Because we do see this in emergencies. People who are able to help do. They either go after work, or if they're in some sort of a position where they can get out of work and volunteer full time. We see it every time there's any kind of an emergency. People just mobilize and help. But I like to imagine a world where everybody has the liberty, everybody has the freedom to move to where they're needed at will. Entirely of their own free will. There might be some guy working in an ad agency. Maybe he's a proofreader in an ad agency. And they create ads for beer and mouthwash, and they make clever commercials with animal mascots for insurance companies. And it's his job to proofread the copy. I use this example because, to my mind, it's the exact opposite of an essential job. It's the least essential job imaginable. Now, say in this guy's town, there's some problem. There's a fire. There's a big fire, and people need help. They need volunteer firefighters. They need people to help evacuate people and get them safe, and get them some clothes and get them some food and give them a place to sleep. There's all sorts of work to be done. Wouldn't it be great if this guy proofreading copy at an ad agency could just get up from his desk and say, you know what, I'm going to go do that for a while. I'm going to do that until further notice. So, you know what, you can find somebody else to do this job, or this job can just not be done for a while. That's fine. The world will be fine. The world will be a fine place without it. That's the world I want to see. And then take that to everyday life. Take it out of the emergency realm. Imagine a world where every single person could just decide, what would best serve my fellow humans? What would I enjoy doing? What would help me reach my full potential as a person on this planet? What do I really want to do today? Well, I'm going to go do that. And if I don't have the skills to do that, I'm going to go get the training to do that. But what I'm not going to do is work at a job that I despise in service of an end product that nobody really needs, and I just really don't care about. Not to mention the fact that only half of my salary gets to me. The rest of it goes to my bosses and the company and the investors and, that's the world I want to live in. Not only because it's good for that person, it's good for the whole world. Because then the important things get done. People who need help get help. People who work are always satisfied with their work, because if they're not, they just look elsewhere. And you know what? Everything gets done. All essential services get done because that's just who we are. Also in that world, there'd be a lot less rationalizing. Say the person in my example works at a cigarette factory. The kind of mind games you have to play with yourself, the kind of rationalizing you have to do. Well, if they're legal and people make their own choices and I do need a job, yeah, you can make anything okay if you have to. Now imagine that same person in a world where he doesn't have to be there. There's no wage slavery. There's only freedom and liberty. You still think he's going to have the same opinion? No, because he's a person. He's a human being with a heart and a soul. And he's going to say to himself, why in the world am I contributing to this product that kills millions of people? Why would I do that if I weren't somehow forced to? If I weren't forced to rationalize my way into this position? Well, the simple truth is he wouldn't. So all of the millions and millions and billions of hours spent on tasks that are either excruciatingly trivial or downright deadly, those jobs just wouldn't be done. And silly trivialities and dangerous, deadly products, well, there'd be nobody to do the work. They'd just go away, poof, like magic. Money poisons everything. We're all so happy to agree, oh, money, it poisons politics. Well, if it poisons politics, why doesn't it just by simple logic poison everything else? Well, the simple fact is it does. It just does. In the big old storm, the big old snowstorm of 2021 in Texas that will be remembered for many years and decades, until the next 100-year storm hits in 5 or 10 years. Anyway, there was a story in the news about an H-E-B, which I didn't know about. I'm in Wisconsin. I guess H-E-B is a grocery chain. Is that right? We have up here Pick and Save and everybody's favorite Piggly Wiggly. But it's apparently H-E-B is a thing. Well, the power went out in this very busy. Things were already crazy at this point, and people were just jammed into this big old grocery store, stocking up on supplies because there was trouble already there and more trouble coming, and the snow was coming and the temperatures were dropping, and so people were stocking up, and the power goes out, and everybody's like, oh man. And without dropping a beat, the management at this H-E-B just tells the staff, just wave everybody on through. They just tell everybody, go on, just take it on home. Don't worry about it. It's yours. The cashiers at the registers, they just said, no, just go ahead. In fact, they said, just take the baskets. You don't even need bags. Just take the baskets with you. And so, of course, everybody's singing the praises of this H-E-B store. And I am too. That's great. But it's only special and only great because of the circumstances. Not only of the emergency, but the circumstances of the world we live in. The expectations of money, of exchange. So here's another example, and we see it every time there's an emergency. We hear stories like this. This is an especially good one. A whole store full of people. Just take your baskets, take everything you got in your baskets and just go ahead. Power's out, cash registers aren't working, just go ahead. It's fine. This is one of those feel-good stories. But every time I hear a feel-good story like this, my very first thought is, you know what? Why isn't this every single damn day? Why does there have to be an emergency? Life would just be so much simpler and better and fairer and healthier if we just took money out of the picture entirely. You need food? Go to the store, get the food. Just go get it. Bring it home. Say hi to your fellow shoppers. Say hi to the people that they're attending, keeping the produce fresh. You see the people in your neighborhood? You thank them for their good service? Mark my words, someday this is the world. I guarantee it. I'd sure like to see it in my lifetime. I'd like to see it before I die. Where you need something, you just go get it. No one will ever hoard because there'd be no reason to hoard. It would make no sense. It would make 0 sense to hoard anything. There'd be no such thing as stealing. That would just be an arcane word from old movies and novels and history books. And at the risk of repeating myself, because I know we've done this before on the program, but you're going to ask, well, who grows the food? Well, people who love growing food and decided that's going to be their purpose in life. You honestly don't think there'd be enough people to do that? Man, you don't think very much of us as humans, do you? You think people's labor has to be forced through coercion, through threats of homelessness and starvation? That people will only work in order to stay alive? No one would work just for the sheer joy of it? Just because they understand that they share this planet with everybody else and they want to do their part? Everything would get done. Every essential service would get done. Art would get done. Music would get done. Healthcare would get done. Houses and apartment buildings would be built and maintained. Everything that needs to happen would happen because we'd all see to it. Money is the most unnecessary thing I can imagine. But the problem is it's not only unnecessary, it is poison. It poisons everything. It creates scarcity. It creates competition. Oh, there's the other thing you're going to say. Well, where's the innovation then? Why would people strive to innovate, to create new inventions, to advance science and medicine and technology? There again, I just have to sit back and smile. You honestly think that that very primal drive in people would go away? Advancing science, advancing medicine, technology, advancements in the creative arts? Take money out of the equation, all of those things flourish. I absolutely guarantee you, there's no doubt in my mind at all. So everybody filling up their carts with essential needs, food and batteries and toilet paper, whatever they needed. Fill up their carts, power goes out, cashier says, go ahead, no problem. Let's do that again tomorrow and the next day and the next day and every day forever. When you really think about it, money is the most absurd, ridiculous notion we've ever come up with. So, good for the people at HEB. What does HEB stand for? I'll have to look into that. Again, I'm not from Texas. Well, there it is. You know, I've been kind of remiss lately. I don't remember the last time I gave my end of show blurb. Let me see if I remember what needs to be said here. Let's see. This episode of The Log is available right now wherever you find your podcasts. So go there. Just search Charles Bursell. Or even better, go to charlesbursell.com. All of the shows are there, including the other titles. We've done other podcasts over the years, so you can search around there for all the other titles. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, riverwestradio.com. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You know how that works. Our theme music, composed and performed by Peter Donalds. All right, there it is. I love you. I'm Charles Bursell.